right, what is up, everybody? This is Rance, aka Darth Lugia, and tonight we're jumping into our first ever competitive tier list. I've done hype tier lists, I've done like theme song tier lists. I've never once done an actual competitive tier list for any game. But before I do that, I do want to give some clarifiers for this tier list. So it should be obvious, this is a personal, subjective tier list based a little bit on results, right? Results from Capcom Cup qualifiers and a few other things that I've watched. I've been watching a ton of competitive Street Fighter 6. It is one of my favorite fighting games to watch ever. Honestly, it is so much fun. So we are going to be referencing tournament results, but we're not going to be using those as the sole basis for our analysis. I think that a lot of characters that haven't necessarily done super well in Capcom Cup are still very viable and would be higher in the tier list than you'd expect. So, mix of subjective opinion along with, hey, these are the results I've seen, and I'll bring those into my analysis. The other thing I want to talk about, just so that it's clear, is that I believe that this fighting game is one of the most balanced fighting games upon launch. I played DNF. I played Mortal Kombat 1, Mortal Kombat X, Mortal Kombat 11, each of them on launch. I played Dragon Ball FighterZ on launch. I played Soul Calibur 6, and I definitely, out of all those games and more, believe that Street Fighter 6 is the most balanced on launch fighting game. And I firmly believe this: you can win a game against any other character, no matter what character you are playing. Are there sucky matchups? Of course, that's how it is. There's different archetypes that do better against other archetypes, right? But I do believe that any character on this tier list can be successful against any other character, and more often than not, most matchups in this game, usually, I believe to be about a 5-5. Now, do I claim that JP versus Geef is a 5-5? I do not. We'll cover that as we go through the full list tonight. With those caveats out of the way, let's talk briefly about our tiers, because that's also important. It ties in to what I just said about this being a firm, like balanced fighting game. Let's start with the top tier, which is S tier. I believe that S tier, essentially, the people that are going into S tier are the characters that I think are the best in game. And there will be a number of characters here. I think that within this tier, there might be a couple of characters that are slightly better than another, but I don't believe they're slightly better enough to make a brand new tier. People have different philosophies about, you know, ordering within tiers and stuff like that. And I think it's fine. Like, why not? This is all for fun anyway. So S tier, gonna be the top, the best few characters in the game. Then we have A+, and A+ is just barely worse than the S tiers. Still hella good, very, very viable. A lot of them are winning matches in tournaments, and some of them should have more success than they do. That's kind of why they're here, because I'm surprised they don't have as much success. A tier, I think, are composed of characters that have a few more matchups that are problematic for them. And so I think that while they have great tools, there are a handful of the top tiers, matchups specifically, that usually give them some trouble. And then the lowest I'm going in today's tier list is actually B tier. I don't think a single character in this game I would feel comfortable putting in a C or even like a B-. So with that in mind, let's place our first couple of characters on the tier list. So personally, since launch, I have felt that there have been two characters that seem to do the best, in my opinion, seem to have the strongest stuff going for them. And those two characters would include JP. I think JP is an S tier character. And then I would also have put Ken as an S tier character as well. I think both of those characters have pretty much all the tools you could ever ask for in a fighting game. And let's go through these two first before we move on to some of the other characters. So start with JP. So the other day, when I was looking to try to create this tier list in my head, I decided to try and go through every single like option that a character could have, every single tool that a character could have. So some examples would include projectiles, command grabs. They would include reversals, right, that are immune to throw, immune to grab, stuff like that. Invincible level 1s, that's a big deal because we're going to talk about that a lot in a minute. Utility supers, damage, right? mix-ups. I try to go through every single tool that characters could have, and JP has many, many, many of those tools. Trying to find a specifically bad weakness for this character is difficult. One of the main things that I think could be classified as a weakness is his overdrive reversal. If you do a projectile against it, right? If you have a projectile that can lead into a combo on punish counter, if you're close enough for that situation, such as DJ's heavy fireball if I'm point blank. No other character, if they go for an overdrive reversal, you're eating between 1,500 damage to max, maybe 1,800 to 2,000 if it's like a pure overdrive reversal, but most of them are about 13 to 15. Well, JP, if you go for a throw against him, a throw puts you into a guaranteed punish counter from the spikes, from the OD Amnesia, and OD Amnesia can combo into his level 3, giving him the single most powerful against throw OD reversal in the entire game. No other character can combo off of their reversal into full combo. Corner carry, right? He can establish distance even if he doesn't have level 3. Sub level 2. So I feel like the risk of going against JP is a lot higher. You just have to be very specific about what you choose to do. Projectiles can blow it up. Projectiles can blow up level 1 as well, so that's good. However, like his OD reversal being so unique, I do not think is a negative. I think it's actually a positive, because what he has to gain from it is a higher ceiling than any other character's OD reversal. So that's huge. He is one of only 2 characters, I believe, that have projectiles and command grabs. The other one's Aki, because she has a command grab out of her stance. So that's huge, right? He is tons of damage. His juggle points are amazing. His anti-airs, his crouching down heavy punch, I think is one of the easiest to execute anti-airs in the game.
This is bad.
I'll say that. As a normal, right? There are some special moves. Like DJ's up kicks, amazing. That's an amazing anti-air. I do have to have charge. That's one weakness to it. But for JP, if you are anywhere, you can throw out your crouching heavy punch, and then it's your turn. You can throw out a fake ghost. You can throw out a real ghost, overhead or low. Throw out a command grab. That's a risk. But if they're going to try and parry the ghost like they usually do, then command grab can destroy you. That could be seen as a weakness. He doesn't have a special move that anti-airs well. However, his crouching heavy punch is just so good. Like, you don't need a special move, because a lot of situations that works, except for maybe like Luke's jumping heavy punch. You know, that's a pretty damn good jump in that might beat it every once in a while. And then yeah, damage, corner carry, mix-ups, corner pressure, space control. I think JP literally has it all. And I was shocked to find out that once I knew he was obviously a projectile character, that he also had all these other things that I've mentioned kind of combined into one character. Incredibly strong. And this is a competitive tier list, so I'm trying to talk about highest level play. But JP can win you games at every single level of play, and you have to level up a little bit slower than you would with a different character. Look at this thumb stuff going on again. I'm not trying to make it happen, but it's happening. So JP, I think since day one, has really been established as a top tier character, and I think he's firmly in the top 3 position in the entire game. Now, I'll talk next about Ken Masters. So Ken over here, I also think is S tier as well. I've gotten better at fighting against Ken, but I still think that he is, again, a character with all the tools you could ever want in a fighting game. So what I think about Ken is that he has the best corner carry, the best corner control, right? He can swap sides with you off of most of his combo routes in the entire game, and that alone I feel like makes him one of the strongest. His level 1 side swaps, so as an invincible wake up reversal, you have more going for you, right? You not only get him off of you and do about 2,000 damage, you get them off of you, do 2,000 damage, and now you own the corner that you were just stuck in. That's amazing. That's an incredible level 1 to have, right? His level 2 is fine. Nothing special about it. His combo routing is varied and huge. You have so many options. Crouching light punch combos into medium heavy, which then goes into everything you could possibly want. He gets more off of crouching light punch than any other character in the game, and he doesn't have to spend nearly as many resources for it either. So, like, A lot of characters can do crouching light punch and then just go into what their other options are. But if Ken does that and he hit confirms after crouching light punch, he gets the world. He gets everything he could want. So, and if you're good at like neutral and good at spacing and footsies, Ken does all that fairly well, right? Got everything you could want naturally. Projectile, DP, special moves, right? His special moves are good for some mix-up tools, some approach tools. He's got the running overhead that can go to level 3. That's a big call, but like it works, right? He just, there's a lot of mental stack with both these top 2 characters. Both JP and Ken have a lot of mental stack that you have to worry when you are defending against them. And both of them have decent defensive options when you're on the attack. So Ken, I also think, is near the top. Only weakness, I would say his damage output isn't huge comparatively, right? His damage output is not anything insane, but with how often he can set up corner situations and how scary the corner is in this game, he's going to be opening you up more often than a lot of other characters. His throw loops are terrifying because you know that standing heavy punch can just get anything he wants off of it. So, yeah, Ken, JP, in my opinion, are 2 who I would put in the top 2, top 3 of the game. So, with that in mind, I do want to actually, let's do this right now. I am going to select the 3rd character that I think is in the top 3. So I think it's undeniable. It's undeniable that Luke is amazing. Like, he's been amazing, not necessarily since the beta. I think people didn't know what other characters would have. But Luke, just like Ken, has all the things you would want if you were good at neutral, good at footsies. If you just naturally know how to play fighting games in a good way, then both of these characters are simple enough options to pick, right? Luke and Ken. Ken is more complicated, I would say. But Luke has that, yeah, Ken's more complicated. But Luke has the perfect timing, which is, 1, very satisfying to hit. I love hitting that crap back when I played Luke. But 2, for top level players, yes, they still drop it sometimes, which gives that risk for sure. However, they don't drop it often. And so they're getting optimals very often with Luke, and the damage that Luke gets is some of the like best and kind of easiest, as long as you have your perfect timings down, kind of the easiest damage to obtain in the game. You don't have to spend a ton of resources for his damage at all. His fireball is super fast. His buttons are good, man. They're just great. Like, suppressor being cancelable, that move should not be cancelable. I mean, it is, and so I'm not going to say change it. I'm just going to, I'm going to deal with it. But like, what suppressor does for you, you can get a full combo off of punish counter suppressor. It's like DJ sway into low, but DJ sway into low is not cancelable and it can't get drive impacted. Whereas suppressor, you can just drive impact on reaction. So, and also let's bring in the tournament results. Luke has, I believe, 8 or 9 players that have used Luke as their main to qualify for Capcom Cup. He's by far the highest used character. And then Ken is next. Ken is next after Luke with 1 or 2 less than Luke users. However, so that's huge, right? I feel like he has all the tools that you would need, and honestly is definitely in the top 3. So I believe that these 3 characters right here, JP, Ken, and Luke, are my personal top 3 in the entire game. That does not mean that the only character is an S tier, because I feel like the characters that are weaker than them by the tiniest of margins are weaker by the tiniest of margins. We'll get to them in just a minute. So let's jump around, be a little bit more random, and let's talk about a few other characters before we fill out the rest of S tier and then head to the bottom as well. I think since we talked about Luke and Ken, we should also talk about our other Shoto in the game, which I think the most basic Shoto in the game probably is Ryu. So Ryu, unfortunately, is not as strong as Luke or Ken. He has about the same amount of tools as Luke, but gets less damage for more resources. Or could get the same damage, but just has to spend more resources to get it. I don't think his buttons are as good as Ken's. They're more minus. His damage is scary. He can get a lot on you. But if you're picking Ryu, then you're essentially playing Ken with a tiny bit more damage, or easier damage, let's say that. easier damage, but with way less options. So many less options. Donkey Kick compared to Jinrai, it's not even close. Jinrai gets huge corner combo possibilities, and Donkey Kick can be drive impacted every time if you call it out. Donkey Kick can add some more damage, but like it's just not as good as Jinrai. The running stance, Ryu does not have it. His Denjin charge is very cool, but I feel like what he gets with his Denjin charge, he should just get at all times, if I'm being honest. So Ryu, even though he is similar to these two characters in a lot of way, right? His DP is good, Fireball is good. He can change the speed of his Fireball. I think Ryu right now is sitting in A tier for me. So that being said, let's talk about a brand new character, right? We had JP as one of them. Let's talk about another brand new character. And I think a good character to talk about next would be actually one of our DLC characters. And let's talk about A.K.I. So, A.K.I, a lot of people, when she came out, were like, A.K.I.'s worse in game. I don't think she is. I think that A.K.I has a lot of unexplored potential still because she's a very difficult character to understand. And I think her options are not awful. I think they are just weird. I think she's got a lot of weird options. I do not think A.K.I.'s worse in game, nor do I think that she's top tier. Instead, I actually think that she's right here with Ryu in A tier because like she's good. She gets good big damage. Her mix-ups are scary. Any character that can throw out a fireball and then run behind the fireball automatically has some very interesting options available to them. And so I think that's big. I think it's a really like good thing that she has. Her poison mechanic is not... I think it's really strong. She just needs it to get going. Kind of like Jamie, right? If Jamie gets drinks, then Jamie's great. But if Jamie doesn't get drinks, if A.K.I doesn't get poison, then she does not get going. She needs to activate poison to get access to her higher damage, get access to the damage over time, right? She absolutely needs it. Let's go ahead and delete this row. We don't need a C tier. Yeah, so people don't get confused. So A.K.I, I think, is A tier. I do not think that she's in the bottom like 3 of the game. I think that she is sitting pretty comfortably. Yeah, I'd play A.K.I if I thought that she was like a playstyle that worked with me. I think she's very fun, interesting, and can win a lot of games. I've lost a lot of games against A.K.I. Okay, since we talked about one DLC character, let's talk about our other DLC character. Now, Rashid has a huge variability about how good he can be. Personally, I think Rashid is not in the top 5, 6 of the game. Instead, I think that Rashid is pretty comfortably right here, right below the top players in the game. Rashid, in my opinion, has the best momentum in a very, very, very momentum-focused game. Street Fighter 6 is all about momentum, getting your turn and keeping it, and trying to make these big call-outs, right? Drive impact in the corner, throw loops, stuff like that. And Rashid, if he gets going, Rashid decimates. Like, he does not do a ton of damage, but he does death by million cuts, essentially. Except his cuts are super cool. They're not like little pokes. His combo structure is so sick. But yeah, if you let Rashid start his game, then I think you are screwed. Honestly, I think you are just literally screwed because Rashid just has so many options available to him. But his weaknesses, his neutral in center screen is not great. His tools get in are really good, but if you start calling them out, make some big reads. If you drive reversal his tornado, which I suck at doing that, then it's your time. His level 2 is, I don't think it's the best single level 2 in the game. I think there's some argument for a few others. It is the best at just throwing it out whenever the hell you want, and now you control neutral 100%. You can you can kill easily if they have a chip kill. You can mix up into it very well. It is one of the most like brainless level 2s, I guess. Like you just throw it out and you're winning that interaction. But it's expensive. It costs 2 of your bars. You don't have access to your big CA or level 3 at the end of it. So I think Rashid is A+. I think that the other characters get what he gets, but with a little bit less effort. And so yeah, that's where I feel good about that for Rashid. Let's go ahead and talk about another character who I believe is in the top 6 of the game. And I'm going to put Chun-Li right up here after these 3 top characters. So Chun-Li, I did not think was too powerful on launch, primarily because I thought that she was super weird. And I still think she's weird, but Chun-Li players have figured her out. They know exactly what they need to do with her, and they execute it phenomenally. So damage-wise, not as much damage as Luke. Corner carrier, corner control, or space control, not as much as JP or Ken. What she does have, though, is one of the best reactionary level 2s in the whole game. It goes through projectiles. It goes super far. It gives you a ton of corner carry afterwards. You can combo to level 1, right? You can build a bar afterwards to combo into level 1. Chun-Li, I believe, her space control is actually really good. Now to think about it, for her Kikokens, right? Her fireballs. Her Hazanshu to call out opponent fireballs is huge. That's big at lower levels when projectile characters are just spamming. And then at higher levels, it's a huge mind game. It shuts people down from throwing out projectiles. She can run behind her projectiles just like A.K.I can, but hers are much more powerful. Chun-Li's damage is not bad by any means. Her anti-air game is good. Her stand medium kick is just a very easy button, but her stand heavy kick into the stance heavy full confirm is some of the best anti-air damage you can get across the board in this game. It is ludicrous, like how good that anti-air situation is. But it can be hard to anti-air in other situations, right? Her movement speed, bro. Her walk speed is a shimmy in its own. Like, other characters cannot come close to how fast she moves across the stage. Cammy and Kimberly both have good walk speeds. But man, Chun-Li gets so much off of hers. It is terrifying. So scary. So, Chun-Li, I would have in the top 6 of the game for sure. I think that she is very, very strong. And if you are good at hard characters and you figure out how to use her, you will dominate, right? Because she is an impressive character. Let's go ahead and talk about Honda next. I want to talk about Honda. So, I think Honda is stronger than A.K.I. I think A.K.I is stronger than Ryu. So, this is probably where I have Honda right now in A tier. Honda is one of those characters that has a very specific playstyle, and it's very simple. And if that playstyle is executed correctly, then you're just dominating. But I feel like with Honda, my biggest issue with him is you can be so patient if you have a life lead. You can just wait. You can just hold down back and go for your anti-air attacks. Headbutt every once in a while, just to call them out. But if you don't have a life lead and it's on the Honda player to set the approach, it's on the Honda player to get in. At top level play, people are pairing headbutt. People are pairing butt stomp. Or, depending on your character, you can easily anti-air butt stomp as well. Because DJ, if I wait until the last moment, then DJ's up kicks will take care of me, right? I'll just be able to get him off me, get 1350 damage, something like that. And so if you have like a charge character like a Guile or a DJ, this is for Blanka Chan if you never won. I don't have Blanka Chan on it, but Azure with the $1.99, the $1.99 in donations. Azure, thank you so much, bro. Wish you happy holidays, happy new year. I think the Honda gets a ton of damage off of mistakes by your opponent. His command grab is good. The distance is not good, but everything else about it is really solid. And if you start panicking against Honda, you're dead. Like his lightning palms, his butt stomp can just destroy you if you are impatient. But if you get the life lead and you read him right, you just have to take your time. I think it's difficult for Honda in a lot of matchups to kind of push himself forward. So, but he is hype. Weirdly, he's hyped to watch now that I enjoy like high level play. So let's talk about Blanka. So Blanka, based on his tools, I think should be S tier. I actually do. However, based on his results and then also based on how I've been able to kind of learn the matchup against a lot of Blanka players, weirdly, I think Blanka's probably like the top character, barely underneath the S tiers. Yo, the super chat just came through on my screen. So Good. I'm glad that that feature is working a minute late. I'll see if I can get that delay fixed. But yeah, I think Blanka Chan is S, yes. I think Blanka himself is barely below the top tier. And this is something I could be convinced otherwise for. I really could. But there's been very little success with Blanka in tournaments. And it's something that I feel like the character strength probably is S. I think that Blanka, like, yeah, can destroy you if you're an impatient player and then at top levels. People are starting to figure out his mix, but it's still oppressive and it's still hard. Blanka, in my opinion, probably has the best level 2. JP, Blanka, Rashid. Those are my best level 2s in the entire game. Which is funny because they're the install level 2s. But it's better than Guile's level 2. It's better than Juri's level 2. Better than Jamie's. But yeah, Blanka, I feel like, is one of the best characters in the entire game. Just barely is eked out by a couple of the stronger characters. Now, speaking of other characters, let's talk about Manon. Manon is really interesting. There are some people in this game that believe that Manon is the worst character in the game. I do not believe that to be the case. I have a different pick for my personal worst. I think Manon, at all levels, is a threat, is just a threat that has very harsh, bad matchups, and is a character that can get destroyed by some of the top tiers that makes her especially difficult to use. Now, this might be a little bit controversial, and my guy wins, so you tell me what you think, because since you're an actual Manon player. And it's another one that I could be convinced otherwise, but I think Manon is not in the bottom like 3 or 4 or 3 characters. I think she might be barely above that and be like the very bottom of my A tier. Because I think that what Manon has going for her is better than the other 2 grapplers, which I'll talk about shortly. It's better than one other character that I also have below her. And she's not as weak, I think, as a lot of people think that she is, but she's another character that has a very simple game plan. But in her case, her simple game plan, once started, is oppressive, is terrifying, is scary. She has one of the best comeback factors in the game, because if you're building up your metals and you are doing drive rush into jabs, right, into like low lights or low mediums, into just small confirms, into not command grab, but into like the move that, you know, gives you a medal. It allows you to get like a 45% command grab, you know, randomly once they start trying to parry on the wake up or just not jump. Her anti-air normal attack is good. It puts them right in front of you so you can start your pressure again. Level 1 side swaps. It's 10 frames though, I think, so it's not great. I think she can go either way. She's very inconsistent, but I agree with you. Definitely best grappler. Yeah. No, I think that's a good place for her. Her Oki can be really risky, right, with her overheads or with her lows, but the space in which she can access Oki is really, really good. Like, especially against charge characters, because charge characters are naturally holding down back at all times. So yes, they can just wake up parry, or yes, they can just wake up DP. But her overhead, I think, works especially well against people who are going to be trying to charge and just don't react or don't anticipate the overhead to come out. And so that has destroyed me many times. And then obviously, once you establish that game, you can go for command grab. So since we talked about Manon, let's talk about the other grapplers in the game. I think the best way forward is to talk about Guile. Guile boy. So Guile in this game, I do not personally believe him to be the worst character in the game. A lot of people have that opinion. The damage that he can get off of good reads is too high. It's simply too high for me to place him as the worst character in the game. I do think he is one of the very few characters that I would put in a B tier. This could be like a B plus tier. Honestly, the names are kind of arbitrary. Guile is one of those characters that has tough matchups like JP and Guile. And I think the Shotos he struggles with, some of the Shotos as well. However, you have to be afraid at all times if you are minus near him ever. It's a huge risk reward, a huge risk for him to go for command grabs. But if he does, then you get nervous and then he starts hitting you with his low pokes. He has some of the best drive rush checks in the entire game. His crouching light kick, crouching light punch. Some of the best drive rush checks in our game. He doesn't get a lot off of it, but he can stop the approach from people very well. If you're playing a character like DJ, playing a character like Juri, you need to get in, right? Or rather, you want to get in. You don't necessarily need it. But like it's a big deal, right? Like you need to get in, and Keith can effectively stop you from getting in. His access to armor while in burnout is huge, and he can react to drive impact with his stand heavy punch. Get a lot of damage from it. His stand medium punch, his chops should have more consistency. That's one of his big issues is consistency. But those are another phenomenal drive rush check. I love those options. People running on you and then just bam, start chopping them. Like, it's great. And if you get the full 3-hit combo, it's like 20% or something. So very easy damage for some of his situations. Level 3 is one of the best level 3s in the whole game. Like, yes, it can be jumped, which is different than some other level 3s that can't be jumped. But like you are gonna eat 4,800. Is it 48 then 53 for level 3 CA? Might be, it's close to that, I believe. It's in the 40s, 250s for like his level 3s once that gets you. So once he has that, he just has a nuclear bomb. He's ready to just unleash, right? So Geef, I don't think is worst character in the game, but he is down there just because he has so many matchups that are difficult for him. And I definitely think he's not as good as Manon, so that's why he is down in the B tier. So now let's talk about another character that I think another character that I think is in the B tier for now. And again, this can change, but right now I'm actually going to put Jamie at the very top of the B tier. So Jamie is just like all these characters, is a good character. He really is. I just think that he struggles because he is so complex, so complicated. His options just seem to be worse than other characters in almost every way. Like, his mix-ups are good. His stand heavy punch is phenomenal. But Ken has a good stand heavy punch. Luke has a good stand heavy punch, right? So I do not think that Jamie has a ton going for him in terms of like great options when compared to a lot of the other the cast. You need to establish strengths. If he's at level 0, he is the worst character in the game, no doubt. But once he gets to 1 level or even 2 levels, then he gets brand new combo routes. He gets new options and opportunities. His command grab is one of the better command grabs because it leads into full combos. So that's a great option once you get to level 3, I believe. Level 4, he's the best character in the game. Once you get level 4, it's just you're going to lose a lot of damage usually to get there. Either take damage yourself or not do as much damage to them because you're cashing out on the drinks. And what you have to remember while playing Jamie, I think, is worth it in a fun way. But in a competitive way, I feel like you want to be going for some other characters that can give you similar results with just a little bit less personal mental stack. Because even when he gets 2 to 3 drinks, he's better than he probably goes at 3 drinks, probably goes up to A+ tier. But yeah, A+ to S tier if he's at like 3 drinks. But the resources you have to use to get there are just difficult, man. And as level 2, I think it's cool, but the fact that I think it resets your drinks. At minimum, puts you back to the drink level that you were at before activating it. And so I feel like it's very, very expensive, and it's good for the combo that you do it in, or for pressure. But it's just not as good as Blanka's level 2, or JP's, or Rashid's. I don't think it is. Juri's, I think, is more interesting as well. So Jamie, I think, is also one of our bottom tier characters, but again, can dominate. But design-wise, but this isn't about like style, but design-wise and fun to play, Jamie is way up here. Jamie is so fun and interesting. Let's talk about Dhalsim. So Dhalsim can have a ton of success. He's S tier in like iron through platinum, right? You don't know what the hell to do against Dhalsim. However, I think that he is not quite as powerful as many of these characters up here. It's a little more difficult, finicky to use. I'll put Dhalsim towards the top of A tier. I think he's probably better than Honda, I'd say. Yeah, I think he's better than Honda. So Dhalsim plays a game that no one else in this game plays. I don't think that Street Fighter 6 is a game that's really designed with a character like Dhalsim in mind. This game is aggressive. This game is really in your face. And the way that Dhalsim plays is trying to be like away from your face, but then rush in at certain situations. His teleport is really good. His dive kick, dive headbutt options are really good as well. His stretchy arms are pretty good. His setup with the fireballs can be very powerful. However, one of the weakest defensive characters, which is good because he needs to be. Level 1 can just get decimated by anything. There's no invincibility on it at all. So you can just destroy level 1 whenever they wake up with it. Level 2 is unique in that it's invincible when he does the move, but right after he does that move, he sends the fireball out. You can get a full combo on him, and so that's huge, right? Not having an OD reversal in any way is a huge negative aspect for this character. Yeah, that's all I have to say about Dhalsim. I used to hate him. I think he's more interesting to watch now that I think he's in such a weird place within the game. He's so unique to every other character. His level 1 is amazing for damage enders. That's where he gets all his damage. And his level 1 is like 2100 base, I think. And then that changes a little bit based on which version you do, depending on the combo. So, Dhalsim, A tier. Not amazing, not the top, but definitely nowhere near the bottom either. I think he's pretty high up in A tier. Okay, let's talk about one of our other, in my opinion, top tier characters, and that is going to be Guile. So, Guile, similar to Blanka, should have more success than he does have in tournament. I think that Guile is so, at a gameplay level, basic and boring that a lot of pros might not engage with him that much. But the pros who do engage with him are amazing to watch, and it makes you think that, like, wow, I cannot do anything against this character. I think at like low levels and mid levels, Guile is like top 3. Like JP and Guile are very similar to each other. That's one of the only things that puts Guile on the far right end, the lower end of S tier, is that he loses to characters like JP. But he can turtle better than Honda can. With Guile, you can only beat Guile by making hard callouts, hard reads, and if they make a mistake. Other characters in the game, I feel like you have a little bit more leeway to be aggressive, be kind of in their face. Guile sees you rushing in, then his flash kick destroys you, and he can throw out projectiles, keep you far away, start building his bar back that he just spent. Like, yeah, I think Guile is a top 6 character, 100%. Let me share what might be the most controversial pick on this entire game. That's Cammy. Pretty much all the characters in A+ tier are characters I feel like could and maybe should be in S tier, but haven't proven it to me yet. And that is right now where I see Cammy, but this is probably the pick that I am most indecisive about on this entire roster. Yeah, I think Cammy is the one that I'm going to lose the most sleep over, because Cammy could easily be S tier. Cammy's no lower than A+. There's no way in hell, because she has counterplay to everything. She has counterplay to throws, right, with her jump, dive kick. Counterplay to characters who suck at anti-airs, just in general, with her dive kicks. Her spin knuckle destroys fireballs. Counterplay to that. Her walk speed's amazing. Her damage is good. Her hooligan is not used as much as it should, dude. Her hooligan, I know there's issues with it, but like when pro players use it, it works. So you just have to figure out when to use hooligan at the right time. And a lot of players do. Really, I love seeing hooligan usage in high level play, because it's just badass. It's just amazing. Cammy is just so oppressive on offense to me, and she answers everything. She does have the best level 3. It goes full screen and it's instant. My only issue is I don't want to have 8 people at S tier. But who cares? Who cares if I have 8 people at S tier? Because there's nothing holding Cammy back. She has a traditional anti-air that's really good, and the distance on it is stupid. This is so rough. We'll revisit it at the end. So right now we'll keep Cammy in A+, but she, like I said, this is all for fun, so don't kill me. She could be S tier very easily. So that in mind, let's put the other character who I think is also an A+ tier alongside her, and that is Juri. Juri probably goes right here. Yeah, Juri goes right here. So Juri's another character that, like, all the tools are there. I just think that because of how more difficult she is, building the Fuha stocks, spending the Fuha stocks, what you get for it. Lots of good characters in this game, though. No, absolutely. That's the whole point. That's exactly what I said at the beginning. All these characters are good. I don't think any character is bad. I'm just ranking them on who's the most good. But I think Juri is like, she is just not quite as good as these top other characters. She's close. She's really close. But I think she just has a few things missing. That her anti-airs are really good. Her damage is good in specific situations, but I feel like she should always be able to get more than she gets. Her dive kick is the single best, in my opinion, the single best like response to DJ heavy fireball. If DJ's heavy fireball against you, just dive kick. Like it's super hard to respond to it with the right timing because it messes with her jump arc. And so it's a big call out, but like you can get combos off of it in certain situations. If you have Fuha stock, it's even more of a good risk for you. Yeah, I think Juri, and she's got tied. Her and DJ have the two best drive rushes in the game. That's huge. Hers goes further. DJ's goes faster. And so like Juri, if anyone's gonna complain about DJ's drive rush, it should not be Juri players because Juri has like either as good or barely worse than DJ's. But DJ's is still hella good, so you can play it if you want. So yeah, Juri I think is A+. That's all there is to say about her. She's just not quite as strong as the other top tiers. Let's take a different approach. Let's talk about Kimberly real fast. So Kimberly I think is A. I think that she's so similar to Rashid, but Rashid just has better tools. And Kimberly has to work a lot harder to get herself started. So I'm going to put Kimberly like right here for now. Kimberly is super oppressive, super in your face, has great mix-up, has lower damage than every other character in the game on a base level. That's by design. Her throws don't do like 1200, they do like 1050 or something. Once you spend level 3, then you get a damage buff, and then she's much stronger. If her level 3 was her base form, she'd probably be A+. I put her A+ for sure. But her mix-ups are just... Kimberly just feels like a worse version of a bunch of other characters. Because her corner pressure is similar to Rashid. Once Rashid gets going, you're screwed, just like Kimberly, but Rashid has access to it a bit easier. Her spray can setups are just worse Blanka balls. Blanka Chons, excuse me. Blanka Chon S tier. She doesn't have good anti-air options. Right? She's got her little like elbow thing, but she doesn't have any like an overdrive reversal. And so that'd be similar to someone like Cammy, I guess, because Cammy's really fast, but Cammy has an OD reversal. Kimberly is so sick in this game. If we're talking about designs, she's an S+ tier design. But in terms of power, I put her in A tier with many other good contenders. I put her definitely higher than these like 4, though. Okay. Let's put another character there next to her, and I think Marisa needs to go probably like right here, if not at the very top of A tier. Yeah, I think Marisa is like the top of A tier. So Marisa is a character that the only reason that she is this low is because of very hard matchups and the fact that her anti-airs are in my opinion, some of the weakest option anti-airs in the entire game. I feel like jump against Marisa is one of the strongest things against her. That's one of my biggest issues. Her defense is the hardest thing for her. She can be thrown because her level 1 just has armor. And level 1 is amazing. Like, the damage you get off of it is so good. And it absorbs the hit, so you get the bonus damage afterwards. Level 1 is great in those situations. But on Wake Up for her, she gets bodied by throw. And if your timing is right, she won't be able to punish you from jumping throw. She'll have to backdash, which is very risky. And so, and her armor loses to lows. Like Marisa can kill you in 2 touches, and that's amazing. And that's why she's this high. But she is this low because she doesn't have many of the hyper defensive options to back it up. That's where Marisa's going to be, and I feel good about that. Okay, so next I say we talk about whom I believe personally to be the worst character in the game. But that sentence, I want you to hear that. That sentence does not mean that they're a bad character to play and that you can't win with them, because you can. But personally, as of right now, I find Lily to be the worst character in the game. So let's explain why. So out of the 3 command grab characters, those being Manon, Zangief, and Lily, Lily probably technically has the most like other special moves going on, but Lily also has the most reliant on other factors. She absolutely needs win stock. If she does not have win stock, she is not going to do anything against you in most situations, because her drill, right, her contour spire, from a lot of ranges it can be -8 without win stock. Her jump dive kick, super minus. Even her thing she does to like build the stock, you can DI if she's just going into that attack over and over again, and if she goes through with that attack, you win. If she doesn't go through with it, then she might have a chance to DI you back, so it's a risk, but it's a risk that's in your favor, in my opinion. And then her, if you have a good drive rush, like, Blanka could get in there really easily, Honda with his headbutt, Luke with his fireball, like, or DJ's drive rush, right, Juri's drive rush, Rashid's Eagle Spike. If you see her trying to build her win from far away, you can shut that down, right? You just need a fast option. And so her command grab is the least scary to me out of all the command grabs in the game. Like, Marisa's is more damage, I believe, at least. I don't know. Marisa's should be more damage. Look at that shit. Honda's hurts like about the same. Manon's I'm scared of. Zangief's I'm way scared of. Every other character with a command grab, freaking JP's, just because it pisses me off when it hits me, and usually it's a punish counter because I'm trying to parry it, because I think it's a regular ghost and I don't react in time. Her command grab I feel like hits the least, and when she does whiff it, it's very punishable. It's just worse than the other command grabs in the game, in my opinion. Her plus frames like aren't too scary because she doesn't get big damage when she does her, crouching light, crouching punch into like contour spire. So I personally, right now, at the end of the year, end of the year 2023, I think Lily is worst in game, but she's still usable and winnable. If you don't know what you're doing against Lily, you will lose hard. And so yeah, that's my opinion on Lily. So I think that Lily, Zangief, Jamie, I would put as currently the bottom 3, with JP, Ken, and Luke as the top 3. But now the final character, the character that I know the best, I've played the most of, and that I love so friggin' much, one of my favorite characters in all fighting games because he is damn fun, is DJ. So real quick, before we do DJ, I actually already need to move Cammy. Cammy's too good. The more I'm talking, the more I realize Cammy's got to be top here. She's got to be in the top 6, top 7, because every option you can want, she has. And yeah, like, so I just got to throw Cammy up there for now, and then we'll see if I reorganize at the end. So with DJ, on launch, I would have put DJ here. I think DJ was very strong, but has very specific weaknesses. I still think he's very strong with very specific weaknesses, but I think he still is too strong, despite those weaknesses, to not be in the top discussion for the top in the game. So I would argue that he would be around the 5 or 6 slot. I'd argue around the 5 or 6 slot. So let me talk about his very specific, and I won't say obvious, but blatant weaknesses are no invincibility in level 1. That's huge. Like, that is enormous. His level 1 is actually, after doing a ton of like testing and a ton of thinking about it, I do believe his level 1 to be the worst level 1 super in the entire game. And that's harsh. Yes, I believe it to be true. Let me explain. Level 1 is a 7-frame super, which is excellent frame data, that punish counters, and on punish counter leads into a crumple state. Sounds amazing that it's a utility that very few characters have, which is true. However, that crumple state, its base damage, level 1, I believe is 1800 damage. So it's not good as a combo ender because you can get like 15 to 1600 damage from just other options. It can't be used as a reversal unless you're super early on a drive impact, but at that point, you're probably going to get stuffed. It cannot be used as a wake-up option because, like I said, no invincibility. It can be thrown, it can be jabbed, it can be hit. And then for its use is actually very minimal. And you don't get a lot of damage off of it. Like, I thought the reward was going to be phenomenal. And I've experimented with it. Pros don't use this level 1, like, at all. I've tried. I've used it in very edge cases, and it's been fun. But DJ's level 1 is only good against a handful of situations. These are situations, I'll run through them super fast, that I'm aware of, that I've actually used it actively. So, it's 7 frames, meaning it can punish Chun-Li's sweep, which Chun-Li's sweep is 7 frames, or it's -7 on block. So if you're frame perfect, you get that punish. Jamie's sweep, the first hit, you know, when he like staggers the first hit and he can go into the second hit if he wants. If you're mashing on level 1, usually you will either punish the first hit or you will then, or you'll block the second hit and then just get your bigger, better damage punish after that. Because like the timing, at least for my testing, I was able to get that out. Guile's upside down kick is -8, and from 80% of the ranges, your level 1 can punish it as well. So there's a number of moves like that that are -7, right? -7, -8 that DJ is able to punish with his level 1 and then get some damage afterwards. But the damage you get afterwards requires either meter to make it really worthwhile, or other supers to make it worthwhile. And the sad part is, this sucks. I hate that this is a thing. Level 1 into level 2 does less damage than doing anything else into level 2. For, like, if you're doing any type of substantial DJ combo, you're doing less damage for starting with the higher risk, more like harder timing, right? It's 7 frames as opposed to like your crouching mini punch is like 6 frames. So even with its utility, it's just not as good as it should be, in my opinion. I think it is the worst level 1 in the game. So that takes him down from like the top 3, top 4 spot. Other thing that he's weak against, neutral jumps, because he's trying to move forward often, right? Neutral jump beats Sobot on call out. It beats drive impact. It beats drive rush on call out. Neutral jump from a safe distance is very, very good against DJ. There's not much he can do against that. Drive impact, that's his other big weakness. Very blatant weakness is that all of DJ's long range buttons are not cancelable. Not a single one of his buttons that reach any type of good substantial range are cancelable. DJ is weak to drive impact. He's weak to pressure when he only has level 1. His level 2 is great because it gets through fireballs. It can corner swap. It can get some of the highest damage off of the level 2 because you can start a combo with it, which is amazing. However, it's 12 frame startup, and so a lot of Oki situations is safe against his level 2. You really need to like call out a fireball and a slow fireball. Really need to call out a different option to use DJ's level 2 as a get off me tool. And other characters have that as level 1. So I'm so sorry. I'm talking about all the negatives of the character that I play, which every person downplays their own character. We know how this is. But let me talk honestly, openly about how strong he is. His damage is some of the best in game. His options for mix-ups are some of the best in game, right? Sway at a high level still is phenomenal. Even people who are looking out for it, it still is a beautiful, amazing option that gets you so much damage. His projectile game is good. It's not as strong as it is at like low levels. At low levels, heavy fireball is amazing. At high levels, heavy fireball is bad, actually. His conversion potential, once again, if he's close enough, his conversion potential is good. His falling knee, amazing. His level 3 and level 2 both are like good. They're good supers. His, oh my gosh, if you're in burnout, you are losing. You are losing. Like, there's so little you can do against this character in burnout. He can get some of the most guaranteed chip damage situations possible if you have your charge active. Up kicks, one of the best anti-airs in the entire game. Its tracking is amazing. Its hitbox is phenomenal. DJ's confirms are a little bit tricky, but not as tricky as I'd say like Chun-Li, for example. And so while I listed off a ton of weaknesses, all the strengths that DJ has are just, they're too good, right? I love to, his EX moves are so great. The only thing I think would be a valid and good nerf is his EX Fireball getting a full combo every time on like any hit after a certain distance, right? You can't full combo with the right in front of you. After a certain hit, that's a little bit very, very strong. No other character has that specifically. Can to a certain extent. JP, depending on which fireball you do, you get more options afterwards. Chun-Li, Aki, right? They can do stuff like that, but just not as good. Juri, you know, kinda. But like DJs are the best by far. There's no question. So all the weaknesses I listed, right? Level 1 is bad. Drive impactable in all of his situations. Everything else he has makes him too strong to not be considered amongst the top 7 characters in this game, which I would actually put him in the top 6. I think that he is stronger than Cammy personally, but is pretty even with like Chun-Li and Guile. I would say he's very close with those other options. That, my friends, is my Street Fighter 6 competitive tier list. This is my first ever tier list I've ever made. Actively, I guess. I've made them by myself, you know, and never shown anybody my deepest, darkest secrets. So I think that the great thing about tier lists, and the great thing about Street Fighter 6 especially, is this is wrong. Like, this is not objectively right in any way, and that's okay. That's what's so fun about this shit, is I get to say I think that these characters are the strongest, these characters are the weakest but still strong, in a game that actually has balance that I agree with in a lot of ways. So while it might seem like there's too many characters in in S tier, and I do actively believe that the first 3 characters are better than the other 4, so like, should they be an S plus? Maybe, you know, like that could be a thing for sure. However, I think that, like, you know, I feel good. I feel good about a lot of these. But Juri in A tier, no. But Basu, you can make your tier list and share it with me. I would love to see it. No, I do feel very comfortable with a lot of these picks, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. I don't want you to agree with every one of them. Like, that's not the point of this at all. I don't want this to be, you know, accepted, and that is it. I love to hear you guys' feedback, obviously in a kind way, right, in a patient way. With this being my first tier list, I want it to be a good experience for everybody involved. Do not rail on other people's opinions when they throw them in there in the chat. But I am excited. So this is my competitive Street Fighter 6 tier list, and I am pumped to see how the new year changes. We're going to get a patch after Capcom Cup has completed, I believe, and that's going to be a fun time. And yeah, that's going to be it for me tonight, guys. Thank you again so much for being here, your input, and your involvement, and pumped for the new year. Wish you all Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays, and Happy New Year. Thanks again. I'll see you guys next time.